Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Amin here from Mind Heist. Since we recorded this episode, a huge 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit the Turkey, Syria, Lebanon area. People are affected in the tens of thousands. You've heard about it, of course, already. So I just want to say that I'm putting a link where you can donate to a Turkish charity. I'll put that in the description of this, and make dua for everyone. It is really a big deal, and I'm feeling the effects of it from everyone getting involved over here in Turkey. So please do that. Now, in this episode, we discussed our predictions for 2023. For the year coming forward, what do we think is going to happen? We talked economics, politics. Will there be another coronavirus kind of thing? Where will technology go? Where will it not go? And I think it's really interesting one where we just put our neck out there on the line and we say, this will happen. And then we'll see what will happen in a year's time, whether we are right or wrong. So inshallah, you'll enjoy that. And let us know, of course, what your predictions would be, whether you agreed or disagreed with our predictions. And with that, enjoy the episode, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Right then. Assalamu alaikum. So, you had a job interview.
Yeah, I haven't had one in years. But so this was like initially, because I'd done a few applications to different places, but this one was quite, it was up there on my like lists of, oh, this would be really good.
That's always a bad thing.
Yeah. So I was like looking for the building, and then I got there, and as soon as I realized where I was, like in front of the building, I was like, oh, I've been here before. Oh. I'd realized I'd been here before for, I don't know, somewhat of a negative reason. So immediately I was like, nah, bad vibes. Bad vibes. Where have you gone? You've disappeared.
I think my webcam lost connection. 1 second. Yes, so you got bad vibes.
Yeah. Either way, it was all going well. The interview went really well. I've probably got the position, to be honest, because I feel like I was the strongest candidate, but I'm probably going to turn it down for other reasons. But one of the funny things was like, one of the things she said was like, one of my expectations that as soon as you come into the building, you switch off your personal phone until you finish your allocated time.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's not happening. Bro, I've got a big family. What if something happens and they can't get in touch with me or whatever? Like, I appreciate that. I appreciate the thought of, okay, yeah.
So she said that in the interview.
Yeah. So straight away I was like,
what did you actually say to that?
I was like, oh, okay. I didn't actually, I'm not going to argue it.
Oh, you just like took a mental note.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to say no, but I don't really care too much about it in that sense. And then other things. But yeah, that was just something quite interesting. I've never heard that before. I've never worked in like I've worked in some places where it's like, oh yeah, don't be on your phone all day or get off your phone or whatever. But to like switch off your phone, almost like I'm going to hand it in.
I would do that.
You'd do that?
I could see myself doing that.
Like switch off your personal phone?
No, I'm saying as an employer. Yeah.
Yeah,
obviously, we would have a system where obviously an emergency situation, your family can get through to you, of course.
Yeah.
But I think this is not, maybe, I don't know, it's probably the same in an office environment, but when I see retail people, they're just on their phone all the time. And I'm not paying people to be on their phone. I'm paying them, like, for example, if I walk in a shop and the staff are on their phone, that's a bad look.
Yeah.
I don't, like, you could say, oh, but I'm here for an hour before, there might be an hour gap between customers coming.
Yeah.
So I don't want to waste my life away just staring at the wall. But it matters. Like when someone walks in and you're on your phone, and then on top of that, what happens often is it takes you 5 seconds to look up from your phone.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
I get that in terms of like, so, I've worked in retail before and it's like no phones on the shop floor. That makes complete sense. But this particular role wasn't even like a customer facing role predominantly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But don't you think people waste, out of the 8 hours that you're supposed to be working, people waste at least one of those hours on their phone, no?
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely.
Well, I'm paying you for that hour, unless you want me to reduce your pay.
I mean, you're making me feel nervous right now. Okay.
Bro, there are some people, yeah, that in their contract it says 40 hours and they work 40 hours exactly and they time it. And if they work less than 40 hours, they consider that like stealing. Yeah. Like very, whatever you want to call it, honest or whatever you want to call it. Like that's refreshing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, bro, you could get a way around it. If the issue is emergency situations, you could find a way around it.
No, I know. I mean, that wasn't the only reason, obviously, but
you had the main. That wasn't the main reason.
There was other things and other bad vibes, but it was just interesting.
The interviewer was a woman, just one person.
Two women, although the other woman didn't say anything at all. But no, it was like
she was just like reading your body language.
Yeah, it was a solid, like, the questions, I had like a million examples and strong answers and stuff, and I didn't hesitate. It was like really straightforward.
Yeah.
And I'm not blowing my own trumpet. I just knew I was the strongest candidate based on my experience. But just
it's funny, isn't it? Like, I remember the last time I did interviews, maybe 5 years ago or something, and I remember I did 3 interviews, and the last one I got a job, right? And it's quite nerve-wracking, isn't it?
When
when you're like not very qualified, not very experienced, and you're going to interviews. But when you are qualified and you are experienced, it must be a completely different thing.
Yeah. So like what I'm used to doing is competency-based interviews. So they're very structured, very kind of like, tell me about a time where you did this or helped somebody in need or tackled a critical situation and stuff. So I've got very like specific examples in my head because I've done a lot of that training. I do interview training, so I'm a trained interviewer. I interview people for work as well. Part of my job role is to interview, candidates and stuff. So I'm very familiar with that. But when it comes to informal stuff, it's just so relaxing. Like this was more informal. So it's like, why do you want to work here? And what interested you? It's like, well, I'm just like, do you know what I mean? I could just keep going, right? My issue is not knowing what to say. It's knowing when to stop. So I just keep hitting bullet points. Similarly to mine, I don't know when to stop. We've established that.
So all the training you've been doing, you were able to put it into practice.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was the first time I've actually ever tried to negotiate a salary. Because they brought it up because it was kind of the same, if not a little bit less than what I'm already on. And they were like, they brought it up. They were like, salary such and such. How do you feel about that? And I was like, well, to be honest with you, I'm actually getting paid, a bit more at the moment. So is there any room for sort of negotiating that? And they would just look at each other and they were like, they've just raised it from whatever it was to what it is now. So I don't think there'll be any room. And I was like, okay. So that's another like negative on my list. But you know what I mean? Like, anyway, if there's an opportunity for growth and improvement, then I'd rather chase that instead of staying static. But anyway, not that I'm the expert. Like I said, it's been many, many years since I've been in that kind of position. So it's kind of refreshing. I was a bit nervous yesterday for some reason. I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm feeling nervous about this, even though on paper I felt confident and I had everything they were looking for, right? But alas, just it comes naturally, doesn't it? That kind of stuff.
I went for my visa renewal appointment last week, and the way it works is you apply like online, and then assuming there's no like major issue, they give you an appointment where you have to go in person. So the first time I did it, I thought it was like an interview. So I was like, God damn, what am I going to say? But it's not like that. It's just you have to go in person to hand in the documents they require. Yeah. But I have heard stories where, it's very hit and miss in Turkey. It's like, depends on the person you get. Sometimes their loyalty is towards a certain political party with a certain leaning. So, for example, some people told me they were told that, look, you're getting this visa now, but as soon as the guy, the president now is gone, we're getting rid of all of you. They literally say that there and then. Yeah.
You have to pledge allegiance to the flag, bro. Pledge allegiance to Ataturk on the desk. You have to get up and go like this.
That's not enough. So I've heard that. And then also there was like this time where they're like, okay, you're applying for a tourist residency. So where are your hotels you've booked and flights and itinerary basically for your tourism here?
Yeah.
And people used to go and book a ton of hotels that are refundable and print the itinerary and bring that to the interview. Sometimes they ask for bank statements, like to show you've got enough money to survive. And yeah, but alhamdulillah, it didn't happen with me at all. But yeah, it's a bit wild.
Let me pitch this to you then, to segue into our topic. Because you recently did a video, which I actually watched, you know, a subscriber me. I subscribed to that Amin on my channel.
Give me that watch time. Yeah.
I was doing something here. I can't remember what I was doing. Probably changing a nappy or something, and I had it on. And
you didn't appreciate the editing, man.
I saw bits and pieces, but bro, I can't sit and watch it when the kids are around. But no, I was like, oh yeah, this is really good. This is what people need. So essentially, if I can remember correctly, it was actually no. I'm not going to spoil what the video is. Go and watch it. Go and watch it. Now that you've watched it, come back here. Okay, you've come back. It was about capitalizing on the opportunity of making an income from, you know, the West, wherever you may live. Maybe it's America, Canada, UK, etc. But living in a Muslim country, and whilst you're still able to do so, which is kind of the running theme in the Mind Heist podcast.
It is. Yeah.
It's what I am chasing, and you have achieved. Allah Mubarak. But the question to segue is part of your predictions of 2023. Do you think do you think this is going to get harder? You kind of mentioned it is a opportunity that's slowly closing.
Yeah.
Do you think it will get harder in 2023, at least for Turkey?
Okay. Well, generally, I think yes. And like that's what I was talking about in the video, is like there's a general feeling of like nationalism and being closed off rather than globalization and opening up. So I think generally, yes, that's the case. For Turkey, you know, they say that it all comes down to the election result, which is coming up in May. So if Erdogan wins, then it will revert back to the way it was, which is kind of open, you know, quite open. But if it goes the other way, then I don't know. I think there are different opinions on that. My view is that it's possible that if you're like Western, then it will be kind of loose. You know, you can get this tourist residency quite easily, like you could 2 years ago or something. Yeah, which it was quite easy then. And but then if you're like a lot of the foreigners here, you're Syrian, you're Palestinian, you're Egyptian, that'll be very difficult, I think, if the opposition wins. But my prediction, actually, just to flow into the actual, one of my predictions is that Erdogan's actually going to win the election.
Really? How many terms has he had? Do you know?
So he's kind of cheated. Yeah, he's kind of cheated. So he had 2 terms as the prime minister.
Right.
And then he shifted the main power player in the country to the president, and then he became president for 2 terms. So he can do 1 more term as a president. This is his final thing.
Right. And then he can remix it to something else afterwards.
Well, I mean, they've been building, they have a party, you know, it's not a one-man show. Yeah, so obviously they groom the next guy who's going to come along and succeed him. That's the word, isn't it? So, they've been doing like all the smart things, like getting their people in different parts of the government, different ministries and all that. But it's a very divided country, bro. It's almost... It's what I understand, like America to kind of be like, you know. Well, you know what? It might even be more divided than America, because America, I feel like they're quite united on certain foundational principles, but in Turkey, it's like there's a decent sized chunk that they want kind of nothing to do with Islam.
Yeah.
And then there are those who like want everything to do with Islam. And even those who might lean towards the current party who's in power, they're not that hardcore about Islam, you know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, I was shocked, but I remember I saw a bit of a documentary about Turkey in the like 80s or something. Bro, Turkey was rubbish in the 80s. It was really bad. I'm talking about like no sewage systems, like electricity power outages. Like, it was worse than the Arab world, like whether you think of Egypt, Iraq, whatever, it was worse, you know? And so no doubt a huge part of Erdogan's success in the elections previously has because he's put food on everyone's table for 20 years now, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
obviously, like, it's kind of disappointing, but the truth is elections and popularity when it comes to government often comes down to how much cash is in my bank account,
Yeah, yeah.
Having said that, the opposition, from what I understand, they don't have much to offer economically. They don't have some master plan of how we're going to do this and that. In fact, what they have mentioned is they want to increase interest rates, which will obviously increase the cost of borrowing, which will probably push Turkey towards like a recession, which might be actually be needed. It might be needed actually for Turkey, who knows? But that's not going to go down well with the average person, is it? If they understand what that means. So,
but it's also the common theme of many governments across the world where the counterpart or the one that isn't in power will argue points of like this, in what's the word, like whatever the country is first and pushing immigrants out. And like the Conservative Party in the UK is doing that a lot now.
yes.
Like you said, the opposition party in Turkey, I'm sure, are doing that as well.
They are, yeah. Large part of their messaging is around getting foreigners out and all that. Turkey first, like America first.
Yeah.
But having said that, my understanding is in Turkey, just to exist, you have to be like that. So even the Islamic leaning party, it's like still very nationalist. Still very nationalist. You have to be like that to play the game.
Yeah.
It's just that they just have a bit of this ummah feel about it, where it's like, yeah, we'll help the Syrians out, we'll help the Palestinians out, this and that. We will, build hospitals in Somalia, blah, blah, blah. So
yeah, it's a delicate one to balance, isn't it?
yeah. So I think the election is quite close because I was just thinking about it, bro, because even though many people tell me, I don't know anything about Turkish politics, okay? But it's just what people tell me is that probably Erdogan's going to win. And I think that makes sense. However, if I'm an average Turkish guy now and my head's below water at this point in terms of financially, I might just be like, look, I'll just throw the dice. I'll roll the dice and I'll pick another person, whoever it is, because it can't be worse than this, right? I can see a lot of people having that thinking. It can't be worse than this, so I'll throw the dice and let's go. Let's try this out.
So this article came out yesterday. Erdogan's popularity surges to 2-year high after boosting spending.
I saw that,
Yeah, Turkish president reaps benefits of populist spending, but still needs additional 8 to 10 points to be re-elected.
Yeah.
That's on Middle East Eye.
And this is another, I guess it's like a mini prediction, is that there are going to be a lot of announcements made between now and the elections, as you would expect. But there's a lot that was actually put down to come out or to be released in 2023, right? Yeah. So like the gas that they found in the Black Sea, production is supposed to start this year. There's an electric car company that they started and the first production unit's supposed to come out 2023. The Treaty of Lausanne, I think it's Lausanne. The Treaty of Lausanne is supposed to expire this year. I don't know when, which that's like the agreement that is to do with the Bosphorus Strait and who has the right to control what goes through it and all of that. That expires this year. What else? Maybe there's a nuclear reactor coming online 2023. The elections 2023. A lot of metro. Actually, they've been working on so many extensions of the Istanbul metro. A lot of those are coming online. They just opened a direct metro line from the airport to basically central Istanbul. That just opened. So many of these things they're going to obviously be used to give this feeling that the current party is doing great stuff and all that.
I just want to see, what's the sort of feedback you've got, if any, on your video?
Feedback. All I remember is someone saying, "Well, how do I make the income remotely?" I don't know what else. Can't remember what else.
Might have to book a call with you. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, not too much at the moment, but we'll get there. Yeah, interesting. Do you think so? Okay, get into some of the other predictions then.
Yeah, so I gave one. What's your one? We'll go 1-1 like that.
Oh, let me see. Let me bring it up. I got the laptop out today.
Okay.
I got the laptop.
Is that a special occasion thing?
I guess I was using it earlier. My battery's really bad on this. It doesn't last too long. Got a lot to choose from. What did I say? Oh, there was one actually that I came across. It's going to be on my phone. I say came across, but it came across. I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense to me. But it's going back to the AI stuff, all of that AI stuff. So
Okay.
there was some news I saw earlier that Microsoft just launched a Teams Premium, so Microsoft Teams powered by ChatGPT at $7 a month, and with it, users can generate automatic meeting notes, AI recommended tasks, personalized meeting templates, and a lot more. So I've had so many meetings where there's obviously somebody taking notes, what they call them, I don't know, they're kind of like the silent observer who secretaries or whatever, you know what I mean, like that's their job, take notes, take actions, that kind of thing. And there's a little screenshot assisted with this, and it's got it's just got literally suggested notes that Ben wants to look at the sales report before him and Beth spend more budget on the campaign, and Beth will follow up the advertising budget, and it's just it's picking up the conversation.
Okay, so it's like recording the meeting and then turning that into like a summary or action points or
100%, stuff like that.
Very good. I've seen software actually doing that already, like not Microsoft.
But it's just that sort of explosion of that led me to put into ChatGPT what it would think are some of the big impacts it will have on the workplace. You know what I mean? So it came up with 5, I think. So automation of routine tasks. ChatGPT can automate many tasks that previously required human input, such as data entry, customer service, content creation. Improved efficiency and productivity. That obviously makes sense. We kind of spoke about that. Virtual collaboration. ChatGPT can facilitate remote work by enabling virtual collaboration, communication between employees regardless of location. Enhance customer service. Can provide fast and accurate responses. Better than the robot stuff that we've got at the moment. And then advanced data analysis as well. Bro, I've been using it like all week, bro. All week. And
you're going to get the pro version?
I haven't needed it so far because every time I've logged in, it's worked. I feel like they've boosted their servers.
It's a time of day thing, isn't it?
Well, I've been using it at peak times as well, like during work hours and then also in the evenings. And for the past week, I haven't had any issues. I've noticed if I stay logged in, it tends to keep me logged in as opposed to booting me out. But I don't know, maybe the money that they're spending is used to increase the servers. I don't know, money they're gaining, sorry. It's incredible, bro. It's like some of the stuff that used to take forever was like personal statements. So you're doing a job search and you're trying to, you can't just hand out CVs. Hardly anyone wants a CV. They want like a personalized kind of, why would you be good for this job? Whilst referencing the role specification, right?
Yes.
So one easy way of doing it is writing out quickly, like using my experience in such and such or as such and such, maybe a generic job like software engineer. Using my experience as a software engineer, write me a paragraph explaining why I'd be good at data entry. Or one of the bullet points on the role specification. And then boom, it just feeds one out. Brilliant sort of example. And then you can chop it up a bit, change whatever you want to change. But it's definitely there for that initial spark.
Beautiful.
Bro, listen, like applying for a job would take me like 30, 40 minutes sometimes, and it's taken like 10 minutes to go through it because everything else is already there. You just do that personal statement bit and then you go, upload your CV as well. Yes. Do I drive? Yes. Do I do this? Yes. Where do I live? Yep. All of that is auto-filled by Google, Chrome or whatever. On to the next one. And if somebody like me, who is a very, what's the word? A casual user of it, I suppose. Then imagine what it's doing for people who are professional users.
Yes.
So I think 2023 is the year, bro. It's going to transform so many things in the workplace and beyond.
I actually, so that's your prediction that it's going to kind of keep exploding?
Oh, I think, it's mad things are going to happen. I was reading yesterday about like what's already been put in place to kind of mitigate this. And they've released like this OpenAI software where it can detect whether you've used AI or not. Which is being pushed out to like education, educators and stuff, education bodies, exam professors, whatever it is, to see if people are using it to write essays and stuff like that. But the problem is, I don't think that stuff's going to keep up, because I think as it gains more input and gains more data and learns more, it's going to, it's what's the word? It's I don't know. It's going to adapt and increase in its sort of variety when it's
going to learn
stuff. It's going to learn essentially. Yeah, it's going to be a lot more varied in its submissions, its answers.
Yeah.
One thing, the one controversy that it keeps coming up with now is that it's very politicized. One example I saw on Twitter was that someone asked it to write a poem about Donald Trump. It refused to do so, and then they asked it to write a poem about Joe Biden, and it spat one out. So yeah, and there's things like that, little things like that. But I think competitors will come out. I think Google's obviously working on one. It will kill Google if Google doesn't catch up, 100%. If it's accurate, I would much rather search for a question on Google, on ChatGPT, than Google.
Yeah,
but depends.
I saw this sick. There's a whole obviously art to prompting it, right? So I saw an example of a prompt. Imagine this, yeah. You know what they did? They said, "You are." I mean, I'll just give you the exact thing that they put. So they said, "You are." They're talking to the thing, yeah, the ChatGPT. Yeah. You are Eugene Schwartz. He's like a legendary copywriter, yeah? You're Eugene Schwartz. You are tasked to write a sales letter for a product that does this, and it targets this type of person. Yeah. I think they gave it a bit more. And it was like a decent paragraph, And then they're like, okay, go for it. And then it just spit out gold, right? And it's like in the style of Eugene Schwartz. Yeah. So, I never saw prompts like that detail. You don't know really what you can do and what you can't do, right? So
yeah, it's the speed and accuracy of I'm not talking about factual information, but just to produce something which copywriting would do. Yeah,
not retrieve, because like Google is kind of like to retrieve data. This is to generate something, isn't it?
Yeah, to generate data.
Check this out, bro. One of my predictions was that at least on the OpenAI side, there will be no big breakthroughs from OpenAI this year. Yeah, it's a risky one, but I think they're gonna take it slow, and it's a very difficult one for me to say. But I thought I'll put my neck on the line, and I'll say that they're not gonna release anything like major this year. It might be difficult. Like I can see them putting something out in like October, like near the end of the year, but. Yeah, I'm going to say that.
Oh, man. No. I see it. The way I see it is like we've just unleashed a virus onto the world and it's going to just spread rapidly. Kind of like a zombie movie or something,
Yeah. But I got to try and take the contrarian view just to spice it up.
Yeah, of course. Look, I wrote into it just now while you were talking. Yeah. Write me a fancy short poem praising the Mind Heist podcast.
Yeah.
The mind is a labyrinth. Thoughts run astray, but with each episode of Mind Heist, a new way is shown to navigate its twists and turns, and our understanding of life in it we yearn. With stories both thrilling and thought-provoking, this podcast captures the mind, leave us captivated and joking. The hosts and guests bring a spark of light to the depths of the mind and all its might. So here's to Mind Heist and its artful discourse, a podcast that inspires to think, to converse, to expand our horizons and see a world anew. With each episode, our minds are expanded too.
Whoa. It seems to it's obvious, but it understands Mind Heist. It's about heisting your mind, right? So
yeah, but it's just, it's crazy. But, maybe in 5 years, it will then draw from information and find out what is Mind Heist podcast. Oh, that's what it is. Because if you type it in Google, you'll find it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it might use our names. It might do all sorts.
Yes. So I have another prediction related to AI. And that is that, so you know how Facebook went like all in, or Meta, they went all in on the what's it called? The metaverse and the VR, AR. So my prediction is that they're going to actually go in the direction of AI. Right. They're going to, whether it's a competitor to OpenAI or something, they're gonna pivot in some capacity towards that, rather than just keeping on going all in on the metaverse thing.
Yeah, I just feel like metaverse was such a blip. It's just not worked out the way
it's not worked out.
It was.
You know what? Now, when you talk about these big companies, sometimes you misplace a zero. So I can't remember if they have dedicated 25 billion or 250 billion. It must be 25 billion. 25 billion a year for 10 years. They said we're going to spend on developing this metaverse thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like the complete opposite approach of even what Facebook did to get started. They did things in a small way, and when they got traction, then they built upon that. They didn't force something into existence through funneling money. It was like, let's do a little thing. Okay, it caught on. Okay, let's do more. Caught on. Okay, more. So it's like a weird approach that they've gone down. And I'll tell you something though, and part of the reason why I'm saying Facebook's going to get into this is because, a lot of experts, because I listen to a few of these kind of tech podcasts, a lot of them are saying that what OpenAI has done is actually fully, like Google, Facebook, they're fully capable of this. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. They said the place where the people, certain companies going to win and have an advantage over others is when you have proprietary data.
Yeah.
Right. Because ChatGPT is based on just publicly available data. Right. So anyone can do it. As long as you've got the compute, you've got the data centers, blah, 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 you can do it. So Facebook has some of the most amazing proprietary data that you could ever want, right? It has social data. It has conversations between people. It has comments. It has posts. Incredible, right? And they've just been saving that. And you know how they haven't got ads or anything on WhatsApp or whatever, but they've got the conversations and they learn, right? They can feed the AI with that. And that is something that, Microsoft doesn't have and Google doesn't have and all of that. And so Facebook actually, if they put 25 billion a year into that, they would probably go places. And they're not dumb, right? So they'll realize they have an advantage there. So they might take advantage of that.
100%, man. I feel like the idea behind the metaverse and like diving all into VR is classic example of being influenced by like pop culture, thinking that everybody wants VR. And it turns out not being the case. How many movies have you seen like predicting the future and then the future comes in? What did I watch the other day? I started a Blade Runner. Have you ever seen Blade Runner?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to watch it, but I never got around
1980
to it,
something, yeah?
Yeah. So I booted it up a couple nights ago. I haven't finished it. I just kind of paused it after a little bit. But at the beginning, it's like, it shows like this cyberpunk, almost apocalyptic-y, but not really, like flying cars and all this stuff. And then it comes up, what was it? Los Angeles 2019. Like that's what it says. And they've got what? They've got like these replicant things, which is like human beings that are like completely manufactured AI, flying cars, all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, well, that didn't happen. So it reminds me of all the like the more modern movies that came out with VR, like Ready Player One is a good example. There's some other shows where it's like VR based and they just live in that world. But if you've ever tried VR, you don't want to use it that long. Like it's interesting, it's enjoyable. Some of the games and stuff you can do on it, but it's not like I want to live my life in this.
The games are amazing.
Yeah, but you can just get headaches sometimes. Some people get headaches and stuff.
What have you played on?
I went to, I don't know, I think I mentioned it a few years ago, but I went with my wife to some sort of, it was like some arcade place that just had it.
Okay.
They had like a booth and you go in there and they had
So
some cool games. Like
what was it using? Which like platform?
Wallahi, I can't remember. It was so long ago. But it was like, there was a first person shooter. There was like a adventure sort of swinging in the jungle kind of game. I can't remember. There were some other ones. I can't remember all of them. But no, it's as an experience, great, engaging. But just to jump on the other side of that, augmented reality, I think, is way more interesting and probably way more useful.
Well, I keep reading about rumors that Apple is coming out with their AR glasses this year sometime.
Yeah.
So usually they sit on things for 5-10 years, new technologies. But it seems like it's actually going to come out maybe this year. So.
I think Microsoft had one called the HoloLens years ago, but I haven't heard anything of it.
They cancelled it.
Oh, did they? Okay.
They got. I remember reading that they got a huge contract with the US military for HoloLens, and maybe they were fulfilling that order or whatever. But I just read that they laid off like 10,000 employees, and a large chunk of those were HoloLens people. So they're like not that interested in that.
Yeah,
it seems.
Yeah, Maybe it's just not ready. It's not there
Yeah.
yet.
The thing is, the technology should never come before, like, you need a use case to sell it for it to be a real business. So with AR, the use case could be I'm a what's it called, engineer, or I'm a technician,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna see on the glasses like what to do, like what cable to change or what spark plug to change, whatever it is. Yeah, you can tell I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No.
So that could be a thing, right? It also could be like, okay, bomb defusal. Okay, you put the thing on, it'll tell you how to defuse it. You know, this kind of thing, or training. So what a company should do is that they should pick one of these use cases and become amazing at that, and then get loads of contracts and from businesses like that. And it's going to be the B2B thing that drives it. And then when that makes it really good and people actually making money out of it from the business side, then naturally it will go into the consumer domain, right? But what Facebook's trying to do is like, metaverse for the sake of metaverse, not for a specific like use case.
Yeah, 100%. Well, their use case, they argue, is like meetings, which the webcam achieves it.
I mean, okay, if that's their use case, they have to make that amazing. Like, have to make it actually really good.
But it's not. Sometimes technology comes too soon, and then it re-merges later on.
Yes.
I remember back in so I just googled it. 2009, there was this platform called OnLive, and I remember using it. So what it essentially was video game streaming. You didn't have to have a console. All you needed was a screen and an internet connection, and they would essentially run whatever game you wanted to play on their own servers and just beam you the footage.
2009.
So
this is like cloud gaming.
Yep. So it eliminated, the need for that. It eliminated the need for a lot of things.
Yes.
And I remember using it, and I was like, "Oh, this is really interesting. This is really cool. I don't need a top of the range computer to play the game I want to play." But the picture quality wasn't that great, and it was a bit stuttery and stuff. But I had decent internet connection at the time. Vast majority of people didn't.
Yeah.
And it literally lasted. I think defunct 2012. I think. 2012 is when it got liquidated. So. Yeah, it didn't work out. But then now, grab a PS5 or an Xbox, you can you can stream a game from your Xbox straight to your phone, or PlayStation straight to your phone. So that your server, actually, I don't even think you need to use your own Xbox. I think the server will come from wherever, Microsoft, for example, and they'll beam
What's
the game
that called? Xbox something, right?
Remote play. So PlayStation got remote play, and Xbox have got cloud.
So in the case of PlayStation, is it your PlayStation running the game, or in the data center running it?
So for PlayStation, I believe it's your own PlayStation running it.
Yeah.
But for Xbox, it's cloud.
Because
cloud
Xbox, basically Microsoft have data centers all over the world, so they've got the ability to do that. And I believe, is it Steam or something, has something like that?
Oh, possibly. I'm not too familiar, but possibly, yeah. It sounds like it.
And I remember Google had Stadia.
Yeah, but that got binned.
And they closed that down, right?
Yeah.
This is what I respect about Google, bro. They will put like, I don't know, $100-200 million into something and 2-3 years into it, and then they'll close it down.
Yeah. The thing is,
that takes discipline.
It was proprietary once again, just for cloud gaming, I think. It was all cloud.
It was just cloud gaming, yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah. But the issue is that the market for video games, consoles especially, the console war, or whatever you want to call it, is very solidified. Like, to break in, you've got to be like super niche. You've got to be your own thing. PlayStation and Xbox.
It's all about the games that you get on your platform, isn't it?
True. Yeah, it's about those sort of what they call
exclusive titles. Yeah,
but not always. Not always. So like,
okay,
not we're going to turn this into a gaming podcast, but it's my expertise, bro. Like Nintendo, for example, don't go down the power route. Don't go down they're not power heavy consoles. They're not going to run like.
So how do they compete with the games?
They compete, because their games are solid. Like their first party games, Mario, Zelda, that kind of stuff. Solid. So
that's enough to get you on board. Yeah.
Yeah. Their internet stuff is ancient. You still got to put in like long codes just to connect with your friends. There's no voice chat officially, although they've got like an app on your phone. It's very finicky. That's something to do with like Japan and their technological sort of I don't know. They don't. I know it sounds really weird to say that Japan doesn't progress as much technologically as it used to, but
Yeah.
it's the truth. Like I've read that they still use fax machines in a lot of organizations. They just don't pursue technological advancement. There's a documentary about it because back in the 80s, I think they were booming, and then it just stagnated, and they've been stagnant for years. But that's another thing that I don't know too much about. But then you've got Xbox.
By the way,
Definitely goes-
is the Nintendo console cheaper than Xbox, PlayStation?
Yeah, I think you can get it for about 300. And then one of the things they do is they're innovative. They really want to innovate. So like they brought out the Wii first thing with motion controls that blew up.
Yeah.
It was a complete blue ocean strategy. They didn't try and appeal just to gamers, but to casual,
Yeah,
anybody really, the
exactly.
grandmas and stuff.
Yeah.
And it really blew up.
And that's where cloud gaming would have to break through. It would have to go for people who wouldn't buy a console.
100%. It has to innovate in a way. At the moment, their latest console is the Switch, which is you can dock it in and play on the TV and then pick it up and take it with you, which is innovative as well.
That's cool, yeah.
But then the others, PlayStation's got a really solid first-party lineup with the power, but then Xbox has got probably the most power. It's the most powerful console in the world, apparently, allegedly. And then really good online functionality, but it caters to a different audience. So Xbox is very much leaning more to American market, whilst the PlayStation is obviously being from Japan, has got a very solid grip in Japan and comes out with some really stellar like Japanese sort of exclusive games. But they're going to be the toe to toe. They're the ones battling out with each other. Nintendo's in its own niche, and then you got the PC market, which is its own kind of thing. So to come in and break through that, like if you look at history, Sega used to have its own thing, like the Mega Drive. They essentially just gave up because they couldn't compete anymore. And they, now they just make games instead of consoles.
This just shows you how much companies like Google are just printing money, because they will spend $100 million and then shut it down.
Yeah.
And the reason they shut it down sometimes is because it only made $100 million.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like for it to what's that word? Something the needle. For it to tip the scales anyway. For it to tip the scales for them revenue wise, it needs to be more than that, like 100 million a year or whatever.
But that's just money, isn't it? Like Amazon does the same thing. Amazon was getting into buying game consoles, doing something with gaming and stuff. Really? They just chuck money. And a lot of criticism of Amazon is that they don't have the creativity behind it. They just buy things or throw things out. Like look at the blue, what's it? Was it Blue Origin? It was just like a competition thing with Musk and his SpaceX. It was like, oh, we want to do that too. So they just throw money at this thing.
What, is that gone now or something?
I don't know. It still exists, but I just don't hear much about it.
Right. So, Amazon seemed to be very good at just logistics, right? So they bought Whole Foods, and the way they made that into a really good purchase is they just used those Whole Foods things as like storage things for their delivery network and stuff. And they added the food that they sell onto Amazon, and they integrate it, I think, with groceries and stuff. It's purely like just logistics. It's not creativity or marketing per se or anything. So
it is crazy how you got these like conglomerates that essentially take over so many different industries with their main logo. I know previously companies have owned different various companies across the sector, but to have like Amazon Food and Amazon Delivery and Amazon this and Amazon bloody spaceships,
bigger than governments, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
Bigger than governments. Actually, I was going to make a prediction.
Go for it.
But it might be too early. Basically, Amazon is going to get into health hardcore when it comes to tracking your health, like Apple Watch stuff, but then also pharmaceuticals, like delivering medicine and that kind of stuff. Remote telemedicine is called, right? That I think is their next big opportunity that they're going to get into. But 2023, I don't know if it's going to be this year, so that's why I didn't write it actually. Okay. Okay, I said a couple. What's your next prediction?
Maybe I'll give a negative one. I think we're gonna get like another like virus, bro. Whether it's COVID
this year,
whether it's like a COVID kind of variant that they're like struggling with, or something new. And I think as we continue, throughout the years, this is going to be more and more of a issue because I was reading about with not just climate changing, but climate change influences that. Places get hotter, etc. Bacteria grows, not bacteria, but viruses grow a sort of resistance to whatever they were, what's the word? Resistant to, I suppose, before, whether it was resistance to whatever was deadly for them before, whether it was temperatures or whatever. And also the mixing of different... So one of the theories of COVID was through deforestation, through humans mixing with animals that they hadn't necessarily mixed before.
Yes.
Like the bats or whatever, all that sort of stuff. Habitats converging, us encroaching onto new habitats, polar ice caps melting, and that frozen ice containing bacteria from thousands of years ago that nobody has an immunity to, that kind of thing. I think it's... And also the biggest one was... it was like the monogamy. What's it called? Not monogamy, but like you've got these kind of environments we create, whether it's in agriculture or whether it's in...
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, where it's like you've got one... like
monoculture,
monoculture, that's the word I'm thinking of. They had it with like bananas. There was this thing about bananas possibly going extinct.
Yeah. You saw the same video I saw.
Yeah, the theory, just to butcher the theory, but the theory is essentially like in a natural habitat or a natural garden that you have, you've got such a variety of different kind of fruit, vegetables, all sorts, that one sort of disease cannot flourish in that environment because there's so many different organisms they would have to pass through. But when you've got one entire monoculture, so like a field of just one particular crop,
the exact same type of banana,
same thing, or it's genetically modified to be the exact same, right? So even in that one crop, there's no variation.
Yes,
it just takes one disease that cannot be beaten to just decimate that entire crop.
And that's what happened with bananas, isn't it?
That's what is happening with bananas.
It's happening. Some sort of fungus, right? Which
there's something they can't.
And in that video, they were talking about how there's like 100 types of banana, but in in the supermarkets around the world, what we know is that just one type, right?
Yeah.
But there's loads of types. Some of them are actually even sweeter than this, but they factor in, okay, how easy is it to transport without damaging it, and all these things, But obviously there are, like in India, you've got those little mini bananas. You got a lot of types, isn't it? But like what we see, like is one type usually.
A particular name, isn't it? They give it a particular name.
Yeah, it's got some British sounding name.
Yeah, it's like some Charles thing. But monoculture, it's interesting actually how like monocultures in general have that negative impact. Like if imagine a community, a monoculture community, right? Some disease comes and it just decimates that entire population because, I mean, think about they talk about Christopher Columbus bringing diseases to America. Well, that was like a monoculture that just got decimated. Yes. But clearly the European settlers didn't have or had a resistance to it, right?
Yes.
And it goes back to like I was saying, my brother-in-law did his DNA test, like we said last week. I put it through Prometheus, which is that health one. And one of the things that came up was like he had a genetic sort of resistance to malaria and other diseases, which I didn't have. So it just shows you people might have genetic resistance anyway to certain things. But if you got a monoculture of just the same sort of people, no mixing, no.
Where did the Spanish flu came from somewhere? Where did it come from? Maybe Africa. Maybe it's like they started exploring Africa and they got that disease they never got before, and it just went mad in Europe because they never exposed to that.
Stuff like that, bro. I just think it's going to continue because.
But you're saying this year specifically.
I think maybe by the end of the year.
That's a difficult one to predict, but
just a guess.
This is also what they've been telling us anyway, isn't? This has been the whole messaging since Corona is. Bill Gates, World Economic Forum, this will happen again. This will happen again. So we've been programmed to expect it. I'll tell you a big one as well they talk about is when the ice caps melt, there's going to be all bacteria under that ice, which is going to be released.
100%.
So that's a movie to make.
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying that it's 100% natural. It could just be a thing. Like there's very, very, good arguments to suggest that even the one like COVID wasn't completely natural. It was like a Wuhan experiment, right?
My brother got it and he's like, yeah, it's definitely man-made. It just feels chemical when you've got it. It just feels chemical.
This feels organized.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
By the way, that banana species is the Cavendish banana.
Cavendish.
Is that a thing in London? Is it Cavendish Town? Is that, or is that something else?
It was a banana that was
There's
sort of.
Camden Town and there's
It was bred in the UK, wasn't it?
Really? You can grow
Yeah.
bananas in the UK?
Well, apparently bananas originally weren't like that. They were more, I suppose, bitter and kind of like I don't
Really?
know. Yeah, and then they were
Plantain.
selectively bred. Yeah,
If you eat raw plantain, it's awful. I mean, I don't think you
probably
even
what it.
can. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's where it comes from. I guess.
Yeah.
What's your one? Come on, let's mix it up a bit.
My next prediction, yeah, this is a more negative one as well. I'm going to predict that this Ukraine war will still be going like throughout this whole year.
Oh, I didn't even think about any of that. Yeah.
Because there are signs that it's going to end and this and that, and Ukraine's on the Russia's on the back foot, and they just gave Ukraine a load of tanks and all that. But wars always last longer than you ever could predict, and so that's why I'm just going to say it's going to continue, and it could be, scaled down. But remember, this war actually started in 2014. It didn't start last year. So, yeah, that's my prediction.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Do you think it'll escalate, or do you think it will just?
No, I think it will de-escalate, but it will just continue still. But eventually, obviously, like Europe is going to tire of constantly supporting and all that, giving weapons and all that. But they'll do it. They'll keep doing it, and Russia can't stop. Like Russia cannot stop. So it makes sense. It's going to continue.
Yeah, I don't think they will tire, because look how much they spend on Israel so far away, whilst this is right on their border. Do you know what I mean? This is
Who are you talking about? Europe?
Yeah, Europe in general, because it's literally like a border encroaching thing. I just feel like
all these weapons they're sending, they're going to get paid for all that.
Oh well, this is the the war economy, isn't it? This is what happens.
They're going to get paid for that, and then I heard that the estimated cost of rebuilding Ukraine will be like a couple $1 trillion or something. So where are those contracts going to come from? Whoever wins this war, their companies are going to get these contracts.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Very sad, messed up situation. Like it's war for profit, man. War for profit.
Yeah. Let me think of another one.
You don't have any more written?
No, I do, but I've actually thought of one as you were talking.
Go on.
I think the United Kingdom is going to normalize the Taliban in Afghanistan.
Oh, that's bold.
I think they will.
That's bold. So you mean they're going to have like political ties, diplomatic ties?
Yeah.
Right. Embassy, all that.
I speak to a lot of Afghan boys, and like one of the things was, someone said to me that he'd spoken to someone that was obviously, back home, where he's from. And they were saying like there were these meetings where they, essentially the West, the UN maybe, I think it was, had offered them some sort of normalization thing, but they had to abide by 3 things. But one of them they didn't want to do.
Do with China, probably.
I can't remember what it was, but one of them was like very un-Islamic or something. I can't remember what it was. He said to me, and I forgot already. And they were like, nah. But I think it's just because of what they've got in terms of like natural minerals, lithium. They're in a very strategic location, and they don't want them to go to China and work with China.
Already are, yeah.
Yeah, I think no one wants a war again with Afghanistan, especially so soon. And I think that whoever would want to do that would be really stupid. I just don't see that being possible. It's it's like a shoot yourself moment politically at home, in terms of home politics. If Joe Biden said we're going back, or whoever's after him says, nah,
impossible.
It's just, and I don't think anybody's interested in war far away right now, at least.
Especially now, yeah.
So I think, it's bound to happen. I think, I know at the moment the media are talking about the education for girls. I think they'll figure that out somehow, whether it's like, one thing I will say is like, they know their people, and it's really difficult to say from a privileged background over here where you live in peace and prosperity to make comments about what the situation is over there after 20 years of war and all sorts. Like, you've got to take things with a pinch of salt. But it could be any sort of solution. It could be like, I don't know, universities that are exclusively girls universities, or education places are exclusively for women. That might be the
I
way
think
they facilitate that.
I think we're so uninformed of that whole situation that we can't even say anything.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like I read, and again, I don't even know, but I'm just saying this could be true, and we don't even know. Is that they just temporarily shut all the schools down, universities down, just to work out a new curriculum or something. So
that was said as well. Yeah, there's all sorts. Like at the end of the day, I'm not really going to make a comment on that because I don't know, and I don't know, and I know that the agenda. Yeah, there's an agenda that exists
exactly
for that sort of narrative. So do you know what? I actually pray and make dua for the Afghan people, and may Allah, give them what's best, whatever that may be, because I don't know what the situation is on the ground. But what I will say, geopolitically, not that I'm an expert, it's either normalize or there is no middle ground. Like we don't live.
Well, it's either normalize or it's like leave them to just get on well with China and miss out on all that.
Exactly. And with the rise in all sorts of stuff, and I think they're in a position to actually negotiate quite well between do we give our stuff to China? Do we not?
For sure.
And I think there's a lot of negative press about the future of China. Not that I've got a prediction about China, but like I saw like one thing about Joe Rogan. I saw some other articles like, in 10 years China's just going to be on its knees, and they've got a population problem and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I take that with a pinch of salt, not because I don't agree with their points, but also I know that it's coming from an agenda. It's coming from the West, which has an agenda to talk down upon China and vice versa. I'm sure in China you've got loads of negative sort of news coming out about the West. So just take anything you read with a pinch of salt, and Allah knows best, right?
Yeah.
But
I think that prediction does make sense, actually. It's hard to know what year they'll do that, but about a year or 2 or 3 after the Taliban kind of took power, makes sense. Yeah. And the whole China and minerals thing makes me feel like, actually that might happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My prediction is that this current recession we're in, it will last the whole year and we'll go into the next year.
The UK or Turkey? You say we.
Turkey's not in a recession at all. UK, US, Europe, US.
Oh, in general, right. Yeah.
I mean, Turkey has another opposite issue in a way where it's like there's so much buying taking place that's causing inflation. There's so much borrowing. I don't think it's a recession. It's not a recession. It's more just like the cost of inflation. Yeah, which is different from a recession. But I think like the UK is more like in recession, and US, and you can just tell when the big heads at Apple and Microsoft and all that are letting people go. And they're like I heard a quote of Mark Zuckerberg saying 2023 will be the year of efficiency, basically cutting down on costs. I think it will last. It will, if I had to predict again, I would say it will end sometime in 2024, like mid 24 or something.
Yeah. It's a difficult one to predict, but I mean, apparently the stock market doesn't look like it's a recession anymore. That's
right. Bro, I was looking at that the other day, because me and you, we're Shopify buddies, and my Shopify, bro, if I look at a 1 year window, it's awful, okay, but if I look at 6 months even, it's actually up 25% or something.
That's what I mean, yeah.
So some of the companies are actually legit good companies. They no doubt will rebound, isn't it? And especially cutting costs and all that, they're going to become more profitable. And that's how you do it. Yeah.
Especially if they start employing these AI techniques and all sorts of technology that's out there to kind of do that. 100% they can do that, no doubt.
Yeah, actually, someone was saying that Shopify has like an app store, and people have built whole businesses on top of that app store, right? Selling Shopify apps to Shopify users. Apparently there's been like 20 of those apps companies that have become worth $1 billion or more, like you become unicorns, right? So it's like a whole ecosystem going on. I saw, did you hear about this in Google? They laid off like 10,000 employees or something. And it was just like, there was no warning. It's just like, your login doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. People were blaming all those day in the lifers that were posting like these little day in the life
Yeah, yeah.
videos where they hardly did any work.
I must have seen that clip.
Same one. They're
It's
just
that
like,
guy, unbox therapy guy. Was
oh, I
that?
don't know. No, I
No?
don't know.
Okay.
No. But those videos are crazy, bro. It's like, oh, I come in and I have my chai latte, and then I sit on the meditation lounge for like however long, and then I do a little bit of work, and then I go into I have something to eat, and everything is organic, and blah, 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 and it's just like there's nothing. There was no work involved.
Yeah.
But the argument is that they overhired during COVID, and things kind of rebounded quicker than they anticipated.
For sure. I think they're still way above like 2020 levels. They still have way more staff than then. It's also I heard it's also an excuse to just get rid of people that were wasting your money and time, Yanni. As much as there are the faceless corporation, a real human has to fire that person, and no one likes firing people. But when you've got a recession reason to do it, then it becomes much easier. So
100%.
they always take those things. But the point of day in the life, I always just assumed those videos are extremely heavily edited to only show the interesting parts, So,
100%,
they might be working 8 hours a day, but they're not going to show that, right?
But it still has an impact on, okay, imagine you, Mr. Switch your phone off when you come into work guy. You see that video and you own that company, you're like, what the hell is this? They've seen that.
For sure.
Those managers have seen that.
Yes.
They've seen those videos and they're thinking, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's true.
And funnily enough, that was what I saw. There was a girl, she posted, she'd historically posted a video like that, blah, 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 blah. Someone shared the video on Twitter. This is the video, day in the life. And then the next picture was her getting fired email.
Okay.
And then there was like this GoFundMe thing that people were doing, trying to support.
GoFundMe? Oh, help her specifically.
I think help her specifically, yeah.
That is ridiculous, bro.
But I tell you why, though, because some people had like visa things. Like they were only in the country because they got like a visa or something. And then as soon as they were fired, they had to, whatever. Lots of different situations.
Okay, but come on, bro. Like if you work at Google, in America, working for Google, you're making, I'm going to say, at least $70K a year, dollars. Yeah. And when they fire you, they're probably giving you like $70K, like just cherry on the top $70K.
Maybe, yeah.
These lot don't need our money.
I don't think I don't think any of those people, the tech-based ones, will struggle to find another job. I really don't. I think,
bro, their severance pay must be mad.
Bro, I was driving in London. If you drive along the Blackwall, like just out of the Blackwall Tunnel, there's this big billboard that says, "Did you recently get fired from Facebook, Google, whatever? Come here, we're hiring." Like people are after them. Do you know what I mean? Like such a targeted ad. The tech space will continue to grow. I don't see it. I'm personally trying to, like, that's what I want to do, trying to get into coding and all that sort of stuff. I signed up to a boot camp in March. Go on my Twitter, you'll see it. I'm pretty open about it. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Because I think, I want to be open about it so that I can connect with people that are doing it as well.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. Like I don't see that being something's going to die down anytime soon, unless the only apprehension I have is like, oh, people are coding with ChatGPT. Like, am I going to keep up? But regardless, ChatGPT needs people behind it as well.
Yeah,
AI needs people behind it as well.
I think a really good, like a cool and like a useful position in tech is like product manager. Which is kind of like, as what I understand is, it's a mixture of a project manager in terms of developing a product, like obviously like a software product usually. And then it's also like they talk to the marketing department to understand the features that are needed, and they try and like bring it all together. So they work with the engineering team and the marketing team, and they project manage like the new features and stuff.
Yeah,
that's 100%. Pretty cool.
100%. And I think if you have a diverse sort of skill set, because look, there's going to be so many one-track minded tech people that's all they've ever done.
Right? I only speak zeros and ones.
Yeah, that's it. They did it at university, they did it at college, they did it wherever. But then if you get people like changing careers from all sorts of background, whether it's a creative background, whether it's even working out in the customer service in public, you're going to bring such a different perspective into that field, because it's those fields that are actually technologically investing, right? So like you could be NHS, right? You could work in the NHS all your life. You could be a doctor. You could be whatever. Specifically what doctors want, whether it's particular apps, particular this, particular that.
Yes, I see what
Do
you
you
mean.
know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
So like
yeah.
the digitization of that industry.
Yes.
It's not, you're not just creating, you know, IT solutions for IT companies. You're creating solutions for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Even a cafe, for example, a coffee shop might need some sort of digitization element.
Yeah.
So
if you even take that example, a good example, and it's probably like a blue ocean kind of opportunity, is tech for older people. Like what do elderly people need, and then tech for them. Like because most people working in tech are like younger, right? So they won't know. But like if you can be bothered to find out, opportunity.
So absolutely. I read a thread the other day which was really interesting. I didn't think about it. So we've got this generation, or maybe not our generation, me and you, a bit older, that are proficient enough in computers that you can go and look in your computer, find a file, find it, etc., all of this sort of stuff. But there's this generation that are young but very computer illiterate, because all they know is apps. All they know is App Store, download this,
Really?
use that. Is there an app for that? Yeah, it's like a phenomenon that's coming
up.
That's
the thing, yeah.
Where, so like this guy, he was doing, I don't know, product support on the phone or some sort of thing on the phone. I can't remember what he did, but he was trying to talk someone through downloading something. So like, okay, download this thing. Okay, sweet, done it. Open up the application. Okay, done it. Oh, now open your files and get this particular file from your computer. That's when they lost it. They didn't know what to do. So you can imagine all that kind of background stuff that we grew up doing, and it's normal. Like go into the start menu, open your documents folder, go into your, I don't know, C drive, look for this particular program, whatever, all that kind of stuff.
Because phones don't have that.
Because Apple predominantly is a very closed off system. Even Macs, like I've got a Mac in front of me and I'm using it more and more now, and I do like it, but it is very ergonomic to the extent that I feel like I can't break it open and do much with it. Whilst the PC, I'm used to just
more customizable.
Yeah, way more. I can do a lot of stuff on here, right? So yeah, there's this generation of people that all they know is what's on the phone. Even look now, right? I'm sure you're familiar with obviously Reels and TikToks and video editing. The video editing that the way that they've like Instagram and TikTok have designed their platform to make video editing super, super straightforward. That's great. But if you wanted to do something specific, you'd need an actual software plan. You need, and you just wouldn't know what to do.
Yes.
So there's people that think they're these things. Oh, I can edit a video. Yeah, sweet. Give me Instagram app. Let me do it right now. That's not what you want, So anyway, yeah, there's this illiteracy of, I don't know, computer illiteracy, I suppose.
That's crazy. I know a few people like in our generation that are actually like computer literate. Like they just, for whatever reason, they just, they say born in the wrong era kind of people.
Yeah, no doubt. Things got tailored to the consumer so much to the extent that it kind of just skipped. Because we were learning computers when we were young. Like I had a computer at 6 years old maybe, and I was just on it. And I learned so much that I can do all sorts. But then it became super tailored in like 2010 onwards, when the iPhone was like really picking up. And because before you still had to plug in. Remember plugging in your phone and accessing your phone's files if you wanted to put something in there, pull in from a computer. Then
I remember you had to sync it with iTunes.
Yeah, but that's before that.
That was
the
finicky. Yeah.
Before the iPhone, you could plug like a Samsung in or whatever, and it was like a drive that you just drag things in, drag things out.
Yeah.
They removed that. The average person wouldn't know how to do that now. Because they'll plug it in if they need to. You probably wouldn't even need to anymore. Because why would you? Yeah. But before you plug it in, iTunes comes up. Everything has to be managed through software. It's not manual anymore. You can't drag and drop. So now, like even music, like people would have to. In the old days, people would have to actually drag music files, put them on their phone. That's how you play it. Now they don't even do that because they've got streaming and all this other stuff. So everything's been taken out of the hands of people.
You just reminded me. I didn't actually. I don't think I told you this before. I had the first iPhone.
Yeah. The 2G.
Did I tell you that? Yeah. Basically, it came out, and in my dorm in uni, there was this like really rich guy, and he bought it, like just straight away bought it, and then the 3GS or 3G one came out, and he's like, oh, I want that, and then I bought the 2G off him, and he gave me some ridiculous price, like cheap, because he's got money. So I actually was like one of the, I guess, first people with an iPhone. And I remember to even update the software, the iOS, you had to plug it in.
Yeah.
And there was a time, I don't know when, There was a time when Halas, no, you no longer had to do that. You do it wirelessly, like with Wi-Fi.
You know, they discontinued. I just Wikipedia'd it. So it launched June 29th, 2007, and then discontinued July 15th, 2008. Like the 2G, the first generation, because it went straight, I think, after that to 3G.
Say those years again. 2007.
So essentially a year, 2007 to 2008.
Yes, because I think the 3G thing, maybe they realized they were late on the 3G thing. Maybe.
Yeah. 3G lasted 2 years, so a bit longer.
Yeah.
And
what
then there
a
was a
time to
3G.
be alive, bro.
Bro, but I remember like everyone at school before 2007, everyone had an iPod and a phone. And then everyone was just like, I just want to put these together. Like it was such a no-brainer that like a 5-year-old could come up with it.
Yeah.
You'd always carry one and then have the other. And
yeah.
Yeah.
When Steve Jobs announced it on stage, he said, today we're announcing 3 groundbreaking products. And he said a phone, an internet browser, what was it? Internet.
A computer, like an internet browser almost.
Yeah. And an iPod or something, or a music player.
Yeah.
And then he said, a phone, a music player.
People knew, bro. People knew. That was groundbreaking, man. No, it was fascinating. It is fascinating. That was like to me, that was like the launch of, the modern technological age. That's what really blew up social media. Like social media before was coming home from school, getting on the computer, loading up MSN, loading up Bebo, whatever else, MySpace, all these other things. Habbo Hotel, take your pick, bro. RuneScape.
I spent a lot of time on MSN.
Bro, everybody did.
Nudge.
Everyone did.
Nudge.
Bro. Oh, man.
I've got one last prediction.
Yeah, go for it.
I've got to make a move after that. Okay. My last prediction is Saudi and UAE are going to do very well. Despite the recession elsewhere in the world, they're going to do very well. Saudi is opening itself up economically. And so all of those industries that were kind of just, plodding along, they're going to get injections of money and activity. The tourism sector, everything. Saudi's going to pop off. UAE is already popping off. UAE is doing the opposite of what other people are doing. They're opening, they're opening more while other countries are closing. And I think they're going to benefit from that. Economically, yeah. I don't know about, I think like the real, if you want to say the Achilles heel of UAE is that they bring labor in, like good labor, like smart people. They bring them in and those people just always leave, right? Mm-hmm. And what does the UAE benefit from that? Like, it doesn't benefit much, really. The only way they benefit is those people come in, they spend, and they collect 5% VAT from what they spend on. But the way the UAE, this is the UAE's Achilles heel, is no companies are being built in UAE that are founded in UAE and, it's all based in UAE. Not much of that is happening. The only one was Souk.com, which got bought by Amazon eventually. Maybe Careem. I don't know if Careem was based in Dubai. Careem was acquired by Uber. And that's it. So this is what UAE needs. That's the next notch up if they really want to take it next level. Yeah, I think it's a matter of time. I think considering the way that they're both going, it's a matter of time. Yeah, I think they're benefiting from the high oil prices as well. 100%. If you look at the world in general, they're the only sort of countries, the Gulf in general is the only countries I see economically, rising. I think America's, like, one of my predictions was like having some other kind of crazy internal, violent, whatever altercations in America, like they had back in the riots of, Capitol Hill and all that sort of stuff that happened. Yeah, January more of that. 6th. I think more of that constantly. Because that's a good prediction. Left and right is just going at it more and more. There's more contentious issues rising. It's just bubbling and continuously to bubbles. No signs of it simmering down, especially near the elections. Whenever that event you're talking about, I think it won't happen 23. It'll happen. So when did Biden come in? 20. I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember when he. So it'll be 24. Okay, I don't know when the next elections are. Next 24, I think. Is it? Yeah, 24. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, during that time, that's what I'm more interested in. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, that's
Bro,
the year, bro.
this is the movie for us, so we're not involved in the US.
But Biden ain't gonna like. I think it's just Miskeen, bro. He's too old, bro. He's sleepy, bro. You know
Sleepy
what's going
Joe.
on? Need to get Sharif on and ask him. He have some strong opinions, I'm sure.
Yes.
Oh, that's it, bro. I had a lot more, but whatever.
Oh, really? Well, give us one
Probably.
last one then.
No, not I can think of. Let me think. No, actually, positive one was like I feel like when I say positive, I just felt like there was going to be a bit more unification from the Muslim world, but not necessarily based on Islam, more on just the economy, trade, working together, that kind of the strengthening, especially, and also in Africa as well. I thought there'd be. I mean, I'm not too positive about Algeria and Morocco. I feel like they're escalating, if anything.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about that. I was really hoping one day, you know, we get that railroad all across North Africa, unify us, you know. But it doesn't look like it's. No, I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Yeah.
But inshallah khair, man. Inshallah khair.
Inshallah. Okay, let's wrap this up. I enjoyed this, actually. I think it turned out better than I expected. I thought, damn, what am I going to predict? What do I know? But
Alhamdulillah, it's good, man.
and then we have to see. We do another episode next year. See what we got right and wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Okay, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.